So good to see you, my friend. So good to see you.
Likewise, Neer.
You and I have been talking, I think, for the last 2 months about doing this episode. And I'm so happy we managed, even though it's like very early in the morning in Toronto. Just finished collision. What's the time over there?
It's 2 o'clock right now.
Okay, so you're like easing into the weekend. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just arrived from Iceland. We were on a retreat, and I'm still recovering and recuperating from that marvelous trip to Iceland. So it was great.
One thing you would recommend our listeners to do when they go to Iceland?
Visit the ice caves, and it's kind of weird. So the sun never sets. So last night we had dinner, and so you saw the sun dropping behind the mountains, and then all of a sudden, at the very same time, it was rising again. 24
Crazy.
hours daylight.
I've never been. I'm actually going to Sweden next week, which I'm looking forward to, but I'll put Iceland on my bucket list.
It's
So
absolutely must see. Don't do it for the weather, though.
I promise I won't. Robert and I have met, I think, 2018, if I'm not mistaken, doing some of EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization events. We kept in touch. And finally, I get to talk to you, and there's so many things I wanted to ask. So let's start. Robert van der Zwart, that's the name?
Yep, that's it.
Amazing. I practiced. Could you give me like a short elevator pitch? Who you are, what do you do, anything you want. Go for it.
Yeah, so I'm Robert. I have a background in economics, or I was trained as an economist by training. But I work in the pharmaceutical industry and healthcare industry. Most of my working life. I used to work with Glaxo Wellcome, and since 2003, I have a platform for educating medical oncologists and hemato-oncologists on the new developments, new therapies, and to be shared by scientists across the globe, with the objective to improve the healthcare and the cures to their patients.
What makes you start a business like that?
It just had, well, I was always fond of, actually I wanted to be a doctor.
Okay.
I think that was my childhood dream. But things change over time, and then you notice then I noticed that I was quite good at economics. And I went to the university in Amsterdam to do a formal economics education. So I have a master's degree in economics.
Did you ever apply to be a doctor, or you skipped that?
Nope. No, I skipped it. It was just that period of time where it was fun to be a yuppie and making money. It was that period of time. But you know, if you get to work within this industry. So when I started with Glaxo Wellcome at the time, currently known as GlaxoSmithKline, there was a new world for me opening, and I see it was very rewarding working with scientists, working with doctors, bringing the latest medication to the market. It was really, really rewarding for me.
When you say today the word platform, everyone kind of gets it. But when you started, was this like a thing, platforms? It was the beginning of...
Well, it was pre-YouTube. So there was nothing there. Actually, we had to write the code ourselves to stream video over the internet. It was like a stamp-sized video, and there was a PowerPoint in sync next to it, which were the first early e-learning solutions, I guess, that were made available to the market, and we adopted in particular for the medical professionals.
I think for a younger audience, they should understand that in those days, having video online was expensive.
It was very expensive and very difficult to do, and you had a modem, and well, you know, so you heard, and then you got this video stamp with like a 60-second delay, if you were lucky. And if you had an ISDN modem, then they were a bit bigger.
I think the good thing in those days that the internet made you be patient, right? You had to wait. You had to want to see that.
You really wanted to see it. So you had a captive audience, and there were no such thing as snack bites videos. It was 60-minute programs streamed online with a real player.
So in those days, what makes you start a business and say, I saw a gap, I just don't want to...
Yeah, I saw a gap. And it was particularly also a time for pharmaceutical companies to get rid of their sales forces, and they wanted to bring the medical information to the medical community in a different way. They couldn't afford the field forces anymore, these large-scale field forces, and they were looking for alternatives. And our first client was Novo Nordisk, which is a smaller pharmaceutical company specialized in diabetic care. And they simply hadn't the money to build a large field force. So they used and were they were the first companies to adopt, one of the first companies to adopt video as a way to communicate with their target audiences. So, and we only we applied video in professional settings. So we never went into the YouTube or in showing rabbits or whatever. It was all professional use.
Wait, this is taking me to like a whole different alley of, in those days, you raise money, you tell people this is going to be video online, like what?
Yeah.
Today it's like people pitch and they get millions, you know. It's like, how do you do it?
Well, we were lucky that we had a good sponsor called the pharmaceutical industry. And we were actively working in this very small niche, which is very difficult to get into. It's also very difficult to get out. That's the disadvantage. But the good thing is if you look nowadays, there's an enormous price erosion in webinars. So everybody can run a webinar if they like. So you have a computer, you have a microphone and an internet connection, and you're in business. In the old days, however, it was slightly more difficult. And you really had to work on a professional standard, and professional footage always get better prices. And we see the same price levels now. So we didn't decrease our prices due to competition. Actually, we increased it because of creating the value that we provide to the medical community and to the pharmaceutical industry.
So they have like, you first got the clients and then build the platform, or is it the same?
No, it was simply there wasn't a platform, so we had to build it anyway. And when we started, we didn't know where to start, so we just started and see where it would end. And it evolved. So we now are developing our platform in Romania with a group of IT specialists that are really into databases and in streaming technology, and they really help us build the platform. And what we do is we create the content. We have access to the market, to the doctors, and to the pharmaceutical industry, but also to medical societies. So we do an awful lot of work with medical societies. Because the lion's share of our programs are being regarded as truly very good medical information that is needed to bring the care and cure towards patients, in particular oncology or cancer patients and hemato-oncology affected patients, to bring better cures to them.
Interesting. How much does it change the way you do business from then and now when you are so involved in technology? Like now everyone can upload, you can do a lot of stuff. Not just the business model, but also the development of tech.
So we have seen quite a number of changes, particularly in the field of technology. So first of all, we saw a rapid increase in bandwidth that really helped our business. So where we had dial-up modems initially, we now have 1 gig internet connections, which really helps us doing our work at a very low price point, so that also helps. But also from a production perspective, the prices dropped dramatically. So initially we had a broadcast quality studio with cameras costing 150,000 euros. Video switchers close to 100,000, studio lighting, you name it. And that has dropped. Well, basically cameras, video switchers, light, they're basically for free.
Amazing.
So in terms of production, it's easier to produce. You get better quality at a lower price band. So, and that's also the reason why we see so many people entering the streaming market and the webcasting market, because it's so accessible to everybody.
Interesting. You know, I'm here in Collision, the conference. A lot of people were talking about the B2B, B2C, and stuff like that. But you basically sold to the pharmaceutical company, which needed to convince the doctors to use it, right?
Yeah. So doctors can watch the programs for free, so they don't have to pay. And we are basically in the middle. So doctors trust us that we make an independent program that really helps them to get access to the information. And the industry is willing to promote it because they see the value of an independent media channel towards their target audience. And they fund the products that we do. So they are independently produced with an unrestricted educational grant. And we are very strict on not promoting prescription drugs. And
So if you look at the B2B process, what are the best ways that you found out over the last 20 years to shorten the sales cycle, for example, working with these big companies?
It's a cliche, know your customer. And truly know your customer. So not on a business level, but also on a personal level. So, you know, this industry is a very small industry. Everybody knows each other.
I love this concept of really know your customer.
Yeah, it's really knowing your customer and really knowing what drives them, and also understanding their market, how you can help them. So basically, we have two target audiences. One is the pharmaceutical industry, and the other is our medical doctors. And we really need to understand what they are looking for and what kind of solutions they are interested in and what themes they are interested in. And then we combine the two. And if you look at at our organization, so we have a group of medical professionals who are helping out producing the content, writing the scripts. And we have a group of TV professionals that are really into making television, making sure that we have the latest technology, that our studio is completely up to date. And when we have guests in our studios, that there is a good atmosphere and a good experience. Because I truly believe if you treat your clients, in our case doctors and for industry, as kings or stars, that ultimately you gain a competitive advantage out of it.
So you're like an online channel for doctors.
Yeah,
that
we are.
has so much to offer. And then my question to you, like, did you ever get tired? You've been doing this for so many years. Did you start other businesses? Did you look at other options in the market?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been doing this for like 19 years. And of course, at a certain point, you get, well, not bored. I still really like what I'm doing, but I'm also looking for seeing how I can use my experience in other fields within the healthcare industry. So what we're now trying to set up is basically helping young doctors, PhD students, and postdoc students to help them to advance their careers with a training, basically help them to present at medical conferences. Because so over the past 19 years, we have been visiting the biggest medical conferences, and all these sessions, they're all the same. They're pretty boring. Death by PowerPoint, 12-minute talks behind the desk. It's no fun to go there. So. And if you're a young doctor or a young professional, let's put it that way, and you have to speak in a professional setting, you really would like to have a talk that is sticks and resonates. And we now started a new initiative to help basically young doctors to help them to position themselves, build a personal brand out of them, and help them to create a story or the research outcomes that really resonates.
I love the fact that doctors still need to be a personal brand. It's always been like that.
They need to be a personal brand. Well, you know, if you don't want to, there's no obligation to do so. But if you want to do some other things in life, you know, if you're like in your early 30s, you still have a long way until you're going with your pension. You better make fun in what you do. And what I really like is talk in front of public, travel, and these are excellent ways to travel, reasons to travel, reasons to speak with other people and get to know people. That's also why I loved doing serving on the EO board in the Netherlands and visiting the events globally. So that's how I got to meet you. I think it was actually it was in Toronto.
Yeah, I think it was GLC Toronto, which is funny. Yeah, the first time we met, and now I'm here. It's building a business like that must be stressful. The doctors need it now, or they're out, or stuff like that. How does that impact building a tech company in the Netherlands 19 years ago in terms of, I don't know, family, friends? People got it? They understand what you do? Or is it?
No, they still don't.
They still don't.
They still don't. You know, we started the company right after when the internet bubble bursted. So we were really like, really? Are you going to start an internet company with online video? You know how difficult it is to stream your video. By the way, we don't know what videos. You have to download it. No, you don't have to download it. So we really have to explain to the market the developments in tech. And one of the biggest obstacles nowadays is to basically keep up to speed, because you have your legacy behind you, which is a huge advantage, but also a completely disadvantage. You have to work with all these systems, these legacy systems. It's always difficult to maintain. So that's one thing that we really have to invest money in. But also when we started the company, of course we had lack of funds. Venture capitalists weren't as widely available as they are right now. Money was scarce. People had completely difficulties to understand that you can build a business out of streaming video, which if you talk to people today about streaming video, they all know, oh yeah, we know how to do it. We got Netflix, we got Amazon Prime, we got Disney Plus, we know what a, you know, and these are all typical consumer brands and consumer streaming solutions. And we were also in a business-to-business section of the internet, let's put it that way.
You feel that, how do you deal with people calling and saying, oh, the video doesn't work, or it's not uploading?
If the answer is no, start selling. I think that is my life motto in essence, I think. And it's also something that you need as an entrepreneur. Don't take no for granted. Don't take yes for granted. And if you really want it, you have to fight it and you have to overcome your difficulties. Because there are 99 reasons why it doesn't work. It's also when you talk to your staff, they all say, yeah, when you come with a out of the ordinary idea, it doesn't work, we don't like it, will never be accepted to the market. But I'm only interested in one single reason why it should work or how we can make it work. So I'm not interested in why it doesn't work. Can we make it work and how? You know, Elon Musk, when he decided to start a space company, he would have been, I think he's declared nuts. Well, he's kind of out of his rocker, but he's now helping NASA, for crying out loud, helping NASA to bring people to the moon after like 40 or so years.
Yeah, I think it's not normal to go run a marathon, right?
No.
But if you imagine,
and if you and I would have said it, yeah, we're going to put a man on the moon. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I believe it's about the ability to imagine something bigger than yourself and then walking that walk.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key values of for being an entrepreneur. Just envision your dream, vision it yourself, and draw a path how you can obtain and reach your goals. And it will not be easy. You will fail. somehow, somewhere, learn from it, and try to improve.
Do you like, you enjoy the challenge? You enjoy the tough parts?
Some of them, yes. Some of them, I really didn't.
Give me an example for didn't.
Well, as you know, a company has a life cycle. You grow fast, and then you are growing too fast, and then you get an economic downturn in 2008, and you have to lay off people. That's no fun. But you have to do it because you need to survive. You need to survive the company. So at those points in time, I don't look back with great joy. But what I'm looking back is that with great joy, is that you have a kind of image and kind of vision. It may take you a year or two, and then at a sudden you start working on it, and then at a sudden you have it. You can pick the fruits of your vision, and that's really rewarding. So to give you an example, in 2010 we were asked to bring a huge medical conference to the Netherlands from Chicago. It was quite difficult because the internet in the US wasn't too good, so we had to use satellite communications to do a bi-directional video link. Yes, we didn't have Zoom. We had to use satellite with a 6-second delay, which is very difficult to talk with each other. But the concept in itself worked, and a lot of people said, well, it doesn't work. The doctors want to go to Chicago instead of staying here in the Netherlands. But they rather stayed in the Netherlands and watched the program at a location here in the Netherlands. And that was like, yes. And there's one other thing. So we have a yearly Christmas dinner with our staff members and their partners. And I tend to cook for them. Just out of thank you. So you've been working for me for the entire year, so I will work now for you and your partner. And if you serve the first course and you look at all the tables and you see all the people and you say, okay, so I'm taking care of these people. I'm responsible for those people and their families. And that's also very rewarding, at least to my opinion.
Interesting. Yeah, I find that in general, the whole struggle thing, sometimes I really enjoy it. But it's interesting because I think as entrepreneurs from different countries, we have the same issues, we have the same struggles, which is always mind-blowing to me that I can meet someone like yourself in one of the country.
And it also opens new opportunities.
Yeah.
So if you really are facing with a difficult issue, maybe even a very emotional issue, it still enables you to see new things, new opportunities that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. If your company is always successful and you never have a thing to overcome, an issue to overcome, then you stop seeing opportunities. It's my opportunity that if you have some hardship, difficulties, people were saying no, and if you're a bit of an entrepreneur, you start looking for other ways and you see opportunities that there always were, but you never were able to see it, and now you're being forced to see it.
Here's a question, then everybody misuses or overuses the word entrepreneur. Now it became like a thing. If you don't have a job, you're an entrepreneur. Here's a question, how do you define, on a personal level, how do you define or see entrepreneurship?
Well, we have a group of, a very large group of freelancers. I don't see them as entrepreneurs. So, of course, they do a good job to themselves, but I don't see them as really entrepreneurs. An entrepreneur to me is someone who's willing to take a risk, invest a lot of money in his or her vision, takes the risk, gets the rewards, but also is able to create a team around him or her to really create a company. So the company is not one, no, the company is at least, well,
few.
2 is the minimum, I guess, but really if you have a company with staff and you're responsible for them, then in my opinion, you're more of an entrepreneur than just a freelancer.
You know,
And I'm not.
employees talk about, oh, I've been in this company for 2 or 3 years. I need to move on. Entrepreneurs tend to, funny enough, stay for
Yeah,
long periods of time.
yeah, yeah,
And you've been doing this for 19 years.
yeah.
So how, what do you think about it? That people are like every 2 years, oh, I need to move. Whereas,
From their perspective, well, you should have to look at the reason why they're moving to another company, I guess, or into another job. Some people really hate their jobs, hate their bosses, and they're not much use of the company, and they're not much use to themselves, I guess. Then, of course, you have to let them go. And from a career perspective, you know, I can understand it. You know, in my first 10 years of working life, I also changed companies and organizations. Brought me a lot. But now, if you're invested in money into your own company, you're basically like the captain who leaves the ship when it's sinking at the very last time. You get hooked to it, I guess. And it's difficult for you to, okay, I'm going to leave the company and I'm going to do something else. Either you sell the company and you're going to do something else, but you're not going to stop, I guess, in the middle of some entrepreneurial advantage that or adventure that you're going after. You don't stop in the middle. You bring it to an end.
I kind of I hear you talk about this. Like I can imagine you tying the chain and the ball and then throwing it off the cliff.
Yeah.
Then you have a certain amount of time until you find the key.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it takes some time. You know, I don't believe in those companies who are being founded and being sold in like 2 years with a huge debt and heavily funded by VCs, and their business model is like, okay, I'm just working on the share price, and that's my and these are my earnings. I don't think you add value to it. So I really like and admire those companies who are really companies who do something, who create value. They're not heavily funded, and people have to work for it. You know, from a financial perspective and from a financial engineering point of view, it may be foolish to do so. But I think at the end of the day, companies who really add value and that are profitable from the very first day survive in the long term.
I think the model of an exit is a very selfish concept, right? Like, we'll build it as fast as we can, we'll scale it, we'll sell it, we'll make as much money as we can, bring back the shareholders, whatever they can, and then it goes to the public and no one cares. Sometimes the public benefits tremendously, but in some cases, like we're seeing now in the market, 70, 80% down, and everybody lost. But the founders made money. Now, if they can sell again an idea, they'll build it again, they'll make more money. So I think it's just a different business model, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a different business model. But I really like the business models where you really create value and build something.
After 19 years, how's life?
Well, it has ups and downs, to say the least. A lot of things in my personal life happened over the past 19 years. I had my personal hardship, survived 3 cardiac arrests and 2 strokes. So I'm still surviving. Right now I'm in very good health, so I'm traveling again, putting some effort on charity. I work as a volunteer at the Ronald McDonald house at the University Hospital here in Utrecht, which is very rewarding because one of my hobbies is being a semi-professional chef, and I really like enjoying cooking for a greater group of people. And the other thing that I'm currently focusing on is developing this workshop for professionals and young doctors to help them in their careers, which is really rewarding.
Do you find that doing the first set of like business, work, family, and kind of like juggling everything has a lot to do with stress or not enjoying, or is it like too much fun? Like what causes our bodies to relapse?
Well, for me it was something that everybody, you know, I suffer from it's an immunological disease. So it doesn't have to do with stress or anything. So your own body is attacking your organs, and that causes the whole thing. It's like a cascade.
Wow.
So from that perspective, everybody could have it could happen to everybody. So luckily, it wasn't due to my Burgondic lifestyle or my traveling or whatever. So it just happened to me. It was a winning lottery ticket in the wrong lottery. At least that was what my cardiologist said to me.
So I'm very happy you won that lottery on a personal level. And here's a question.
I'm still here.
Yeah, no. I was very happy to see you in Washington, D.C. a couple of months ago. Here's a question for my own personal benefit, if I may. You've experienced quite a lot on the physical, let's say, aspect. Afterwards, you made some decisions about changing your life or things you want to do or you don't want to regret, maybe. What are things you can share with me that I should look at or rethink?
Well, life is can be over just like this. So think and enjoy life to the fullest while taking care of your family and friends, taking care of your businesses, and doing good for society. So for me it's really rewarding to give something back. It doesn't have to be in a hospital or being a volunteer at your local field hockey club, but just giving something back without being paid for it. I think that's very rewarding and it enriches your life. So over the past 20 years, I worked quite hard. My wife was also working very hard. My two daughters, one is already moved out of the house. The second one is moving out of the house this next academic year. So we decided to go traveling, the two of us, like every 4 months, just to do beautiful things, enjoy life, visit cities, having great dinners, and enjoy it.
I think it's amazing. We're doing this podcast under the Entrepreneur Organization's European concept that I've created, and it's a volunteer work. And the reason why I do it is I really enjoy it. I enjoy meeting all these entrepreneurs, as you know, meeting people like yourself and others and listening to their stories. And my hope is that as many people can listen to us talk, and if something small resonates with them, we made a big impact. And I really hope, and listening to you kind of makes me feel good about the amount of time I decided to spend the last year on having new experiences and doing different stuff.
I think it's important to do different stuff. And, of course, as an entrepreneur, we entrepreneurs tend to be quite well off financially. A lion's share of the entrepreneurs, not all of them, but money hasn't been an issue. So you better, basically you should ask the question to yourselves: when is it enough? Is $1 million enough? Is 2 million enough? Is 3 million enough? But we have the tendency to, okay, if you have two, let's make it 4. Yeah, I made it to 4. Let's make it 8. Let's see if we can make it at 16. And all of a sudden, you're like 55. You find yourself alone in the kitchen because your partner left you because you were always working. Your kids don't want to see you because you weren't there anyway. That's not a very rich life.
Yeah.
So living a rich life is not only from a financial perspective, but also the things that you do and that you experience, that you contribute, that you value.
I can share with you 2 things about that. One is I heard a podcast was interesting, and they said it's at 8 million people feel they're comfortable, because then it's a lot, and the ones that are addicted will keep going, but the other people kind of they can have the life they always wanted, and it's enough in terms of savings. I'm not sure if it qualifies for every place on the planet. And the second thing, during the conference, someone told me, how do you define happiness or being happy or content at work? And I said, I think I would be very happy not when it comes to more money, but rather that I'm just doing the show, whether it is now I'm carrying the boxes, putting on the cameras, doing all the preparation, organizing the chairs.
Yeah,
For me, it's a small thing, you know?
it
It's
is.
not even about the money. And I
But
think
it's
for
a
everyone, there is a
rewarding.
small thing.
It's very rewarding, and I think the things that you're doing, I think you know that this is living a rich life. Rich in terms of experiences, in terms of meeting other people, get the opportunity to travel, and of course you don't have to be traveling like 7 days a week in an airplane. You know, I've been with my wife to Bilbao, and we just wandered the city for like 4 days. That's richness and wealth for me, to me.
Yeah. I did, in November of 21, I traveled to London for a whole month. I took a month off work. My team was amazing. And I did 400,000 steps or such and walked around the city of London for hours. Listened to
Yeah.
podcasts and ebooks and writing and thinking. And if
Watching people go by, admiring the buildings, the culture.
talking to strangers, looking up an alley and saying, I wonder what's there, and just walking, it was pointless, and still it was unbelievably rewarding. But
I have a question
also,
to you, Neer.
yeah.
If you're traveling, do you take a taxi or do you take public transportation?
So I walk. So for example, in
Or
most
walk?
places, in most places, if the walk is up to an hour, I will walk. So if I can, and then the hour resets. So if I walk to a place for 40 minutes, the hour starts from there. So I would walk unless I'm exhausted, then I'll take a public transportation or something. I try and avoid taxis unless I need to get to a specific place at a certain hour, just because I'm in a rush, you know, and I love it.
Yeah. I always tend to take public transportation because you get the chance to talk to people. There's one exception to the rule that I sometimes take an Uber because those Uber drivers, 9 out of 10, have great stories, really interesting stories. And you sit there in their cars for like 20 or 30 minutes or something, and sometimes they tell you their whole life story.
Yeah, funny you say that. I was doing mentorship hours here at the conference, and a guy has a platform to improve the amount of revenue that the taxi drivers make. And the concept is nice, and I like the idea, but he's not able to create enough marketing. So I told him, what's the problem? Go into a cab, tell him the ride is $30, here's $130. Let me record 5 good stories. And they'll do it because they have amazing stories. And I believe at the end of the day, for me, it is about getting as many stories out of people because I feel it inspires me to keep going. It's like an interesting drug or a fuel. And I want to hear more. I want to do more. I want to go more. And I find that also helps my writing. It helps me be creative. People share their experiences and I learn a lot.
Now, we're both members of the Entrepreneurs Organization. I think one of the key advantages of being a member of the Entrepreneurs Organization is sharing experiences, sharing each other's hardships, and celebrating each other's successes. That's also very rewarding, and you can learn so much from your fellow entrepreneurs. It really is amazing. So I'm a member now for like 6 years, and I was about to basically step out of the Entrepreneurs Organization and cancel my membership. Luckily I didn't, because there's so much hidden value in this organization and so much fun and good parties. But that's
Can you
not the
share?
most
Can
important
you
thing.
share what helped you stay in the organization?
Pardon me?
Can you share what helped you stay in the organization?
Well, one of the things is, to me, it was important. So we had the COVID period. we had some of the forum sessions that were online, and I really hate those sessions online because, you know, if you run your business, you're like 90% of the time you were at Zoom. So I didn't want to do my forum sessions in Zoom. So I didn't take too much value out of EO. And a good buddy of mine, he said, well, there's an opening in the Dutch board for the learning chair. You should do it because you get so you're good in organizing events and learning events. That's typically you. You got to work with these two great chapter managers. They really are very good, and so they can save you a lot of time. But you know, you can create so much value to the organization, to the Dutch chapter. You should do it. So, and I decided to do it and renew my membership. And one of my objectives of this year is to not only to organize learning events myself, but also to visit as many as possible international events because they truly add value. So the GLC that we had in Washington was really amazing. Met a lot of new people, shared a lot of stories. GLC in Macau was also mind-boggling.
We had a good time.
You know, you get to know people that otherwise you probably wouldn't have paid any attention to. And to tell you a funny story, I was in Tokyo, and we were questioning what to do at night. And Edward Brink, a member of EO Netherlands, I think he's now doing the European Bridge Forum. I said, well, let's contact the chapter manager in Tokyo. So we got to meet two Japanese fellow entrepreneurs, and they were like very open. What drove them, what challenge they had, what kind of businesses they were doing. So basically, they gave us a short business course how to do business in Japan, which is great. Similar experience in India. So
here I can share with you. I was invited by the Tokyo chapter to an after event. We had some dinner and drinks, and then they took me to a club that one of them owned. Once in a lifetime experience, as we call it in the Entrepreneurs Organization. And you were talking about GLC, the Global Leadership Conference. About 15,000 people meet once a year around the world. And I was about to leave EO. I didn't get it after a year and a bit. I said, it's nice, but I'm not sure I'm in. And it was 2017. I went to visit the Shanghai chapter. And for 2 weeks, every single day, I went to 4 or 5 different businesses, met them, learned about how they do business, what made them come to Shanghai, and so on. And then we went to Hong Kong. It was nice. And I decided this was amazing, but I think I'm out. It was nice and I had enough. And the reason why I'm still so involved with EO actually comes from the Dutch chapter. I got a call from a very nice person, Paul Meester. And he said, hi, would you like to join my regional council? They said, you're very involved and you know marketing. And I said, yeah, I don't understand what it means, but I'll join. And he said, great, next week there's GLC in Frankfurt. I said, okay, I don't know what is GLC, but I'll come. And that's how I became so heavily involved. And I can share that in the last 2 years, the amount of money I saved, the amount of personal growth I've experienced has been amazing, and this is also a big part why I'm doing these podcasts, you know, to share those experiences.
So you're also lucky to have renewed your membership like I did.
Yeah, I think it's a big part. Before we finish, first of all, I would love to say like a huge thank you. I'm always enjoying our conversations, and I hope other people will enjoy it. How was it? Did you enjoy it as well?
I did. I always like these conversations with you, so you know. So this was quite a functional talk, but you know, when we are traveling and meet each other up in whatever place in the world, there's always great fun and great laughs.
Always. So. Any place people can go, follow you, learn more about what you do?
Yeah, they can reach out to me through my LinkedIn page. I'm not a big fan of Facebook, so my Facebook page is there, but it's not being updated frequently. So the best way to reach out to me is by reaching out through LinkedIn.
Sweet. So we'll put all the details everywhere and probably now on the YouTube. Robert, thank you so much for being a guest on the Europreneur Podcast, and I hope I'll see you again soon physically in Holland. Take care and stay safe. Thank you everyone for listening, watching. Please share, like, subscribe, and share this with a friend that might want to start a business. See you next time.
See you next time.